Welcome to Chicago and the annual Members Conference of the National Association of Minority Automobile Dealers, NAMAD. We celebrate our 30th anniversary. We hope that you'll find much that will benefit you during the conference and that you'll find much to enjoy in the conference and in Chicago. In a sense, Chicago is the birthplace of NAMAD. On this 30th anniversary, we would like to briefly review our history. Understanding where we have come from is a useful prelude to planning our future. Our history is a proud story of struggle and triumph. The key to survival and success was then and is now unity. The Reverend Jesse Jackson began the process that led to the founding of NAMAD by summoning black dealers to Chicago as far back as 1970. The concept was implanted, and over the decade it was cultivated, and it grew in 1980 into an organization which has become the one we know today as NAMAD.
So I asked for a meeting in Chicago. I recall like 7 or 8 came to that meeting.
The stories of Mel Farr, Bill Shack, and Nate Conyers and the founding of first FLMDA and later NAMAD are well known. It has been a long road stretching back to when minorities first tried to enter the auto distribution business. Imagine if NAMAD had been around then. There were minority dealers before these three, but these three had the foresight, courage, concern, and wisdom to create our association. The founders of NAMAD took a giant step forward together in the national economic crisis of 1979-1980. They succeeded in bringing the resources of the federal government to the aid of automobile dealers. President Jimmy Carter, in response to the NAMAD initiative, issued an executive order creating a direct loan facility for all automobile dealers, not just minority dealers. Literally, hundreds of dealerships were saved from total ruin by this emergency loan program.
In the summer of 1980, President Carter flew into Metropolitan Airport and in a speech announced the help that the federal government was going to give to the automobile industry.
And Jimmy Carter called us an endangered species. As an endangered species under the Farm Act bill, that allowed the SBA to give us direct money.
That was a real critical part, because if it wasn't for that loan, I wouldn't have made it.
The experience introduced NAMAD to others in the field and demonstrated that diversity and unity makes excellent business sense. Emerging from that crisis, NAMAD grew slowly at first, but the experience energized the leaders to recruit dealer candidates, increased the credibility of the organization with automobile manufacturers, encouraged the development of training and mutual development programs, and intensified the unity of the organization. By 1988 to 1990, the organization had grown and full-time staff was recruited. By 1995, a new executive director presided over explosive growth. Imported autos began to penetrate the American market. As the foreign car imports market expanded in America, the foreign manufacturers began to increase the number of dealerships. NAMAD worked aggressively to assure that minorities shared in the expansion of the foreign car dealership network. The agreements developed with domestic manufacturers were brought over into the burgeoning relationship with foreign manufacturers. NAMAD presented a blueprint for success. That became a basis for many discussions with manufacturers. Although the 15% goal is yet to be achieved, that landmark is still a useful objective in working with manufacturers.
We asked for 15%. In asking for 15%, we knew that we would triple the number of dealers that was in place.
We're making a lot of progress, but there's still a lot of work left to be done. And the association can speak with a voice of independence because it has the power and the opportunity to act. And, pleading your case without any strength behind it, and it's not just one dealer speaking, it's an entire group.
The NAMAD annual conferences have evolved over the years, providing programs to introduce new cutting-edge technology and networking among dealers, manufacturers, suppliers, as well as educational and training seminars. Reverend Jesse Jackson has maintained a close working relationship with NAMAD. His Rainbow Push Automobile Coalition has proven a valuable ally in many difficult situations. Reverend Al Sharpton has also contributed to the growth and success of NAMAD over the years. Relocating the NAMAD headquarters to the Washington, D.C. area facilitated interventions with the federal government and advanced working relationships with other organizations as NADA and AIADA. Members of the U.S. Congress have frequently come to support and/or pioneer NAMAD initiatives. The relationships with senators, congressmen, and their staffs have been a vital part of many of NAMAD's successes and in staving off initiatives which would damage NAMAD interest. Several have been stalwart allies in difficult times. Historically, the Congressional Black Caucus has fought to advance NAMAD objective. The Hispanic Caucus and the Asian Pacific Caucus have more recently stepped forward to help the cause. The unity and diversity of NAMAD was highlighted in 1997 when Martin Kumba was elected chairperson and the first Hispanic elected to general office.
The associations known as now black organizations or African American organizations became minority organizations, which included African Americans, Hispanics, Native Americans, and Asian Americans. And as a result of that, I think we have found ourselves to be a much stronger organization.
NAMAD's success has paralleled the accomplishments of civil rights organizations. NAMAD has worked with the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the Urban League, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and other organizations in pursuit of our common goals. NAMAD conducted the first ever joint NADA Congressional Black Caucus and Hispanic Caucus reception. Pioneering in the development of a reservoir of minority dealer candidates, NAMAD, working with manufacturer representatives and the National Association of Automobile Dealers, prepared selection and training programs to identify and train new minority dealers. As part of its mission, NAMAD conducted diversity training seminars for the National Automobile Dealers Association in Chicago and at NADA headquarters. NAMAD expanded the Dealers Development Summit for manufacturers to include think tank sessions. Working in concert with manufacturers, NAMAD expanded diversity training for Jaguar, Mercedes-Benz, Volvo, Volkswagen, and BMW as these luxury brands increased their marketing efforts in North America. NAMAD pioneered in developing the concept of a minority breakfast as an integral part of the National Automobile Dealers Association annual conference. Strengthening the advance toward unity and diversity, NAMAD added 8 new seats to the NAMAD Board of Directors to include more non-African American board members, bringing the total number of board members to 28 in the year 2001. NAMAD celebrated the 25th anniversary in 2005. As the economy expanded, so did NAMAD, with vigorous recruiting, training, and mentoring. NAMAD membership grew. Of course, there were attendant challenges. New minority dealers somehow went out of business at a rate that seemed disproportionate. NAMAD pressed forward with new initiatives, new support systems, and on balance, NAMAD membership grew. A new full-time executive director assumed leadership and was made president. NAMAD leaders traveled throughout the country advancing the mission. In 2005, the first Asian American Pacific Islander was elected chairperson, demonstrating for all to see the unity and diversity of the National Association